call to order the April meeting for the Trades Licensing Board. I'd like to remind you all, in the interest of minutes and public broadcasting, this meeting is live streamed online and recorded. First off on the agenda, we'll take roll call. Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Reeves, Mr. Panitsky,
Here.
Mr. Newber, Mr. Dietrich,
Here.
Mr. Ziwi,
Here.
Mr. Sessler, Mr. Bretz,
Here.
Mr. Schaaf, Mr. Hollern, Mr. Collins,
Here.
Mr. Grego.
Here.
Okay, roll call is complete. We'll move on in the agenda. You were all electronically notified of the previous meeting minutes. If there's no additions or corrections, I'll take a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Panitsky, second by Mr. Grego. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. The minutes are approved. We're moving on to the public comment section of this meeting. I see Mr. Gallagher is in the back. If you could come up front here to the podium, please. Right here, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you guys doing today?
Good. If you could just introduce yourself and then explain your business and your background and what you're here for today.
My name's Chris Gallagher. I own Gallagher Plumbing and HVAC here in Erie. I'm a licensed master plumber. I'm here trying to get approval to take my mechanicals test. I wasn't aware till recently that we had to have that to install boilers. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
I've been in the trade for 23 years.
Okay. It's my understanding that you work for Al Mealy
Yes, sir, for 6 years.
and Mr. Mealy is deceased.
He is.
Okay. So in other words, your verifier is not available because Mr. Mealy is deceased, so,
Yes, sir.
okay. Okay. That's a unique problem that we have here.
Well, I took my master's, I think it was 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. They approved it at that point for me to take my test because Al had already passed away at that point also,
Okay,
when I had taken my.
okay.
It was clearly documented too all throughout the years. I mean, that I worked with him, from renewing my license every year.
Right. Well, this is obviously a unique situation, and most of the times, in cases we've had so far, this is a new thing having this board, of course, and we're going to run into some problems. But in most cases, I mean, you have to have the verifier, but seeing how Mr. Mealy is deceased, we may be able to come up with a way that if you proved your employment, if you showed us your tax, your W-2 forms for the years you were employed, then we can go ahead and, get someone or another verifier could sign for you since Mr. Mealy is deceased.
Oh, yeah, I worked from 2000 till 2006. I wouldn't have any of those records anymore.
Would you be able to contact someone from the office there?
I think his wife lives in Florida now, and we're not on good terms.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Do you have any discussion, anything we can think of here?
You said you've been self-employed?
Yes, sir.
For how many years?
For 14?
Okay.
Do you have your tax returns?
I do I have the last 6 years, but before that I don't. They only tell me I have to keep that for a certain amount of time, and as soon as that time's up, they go in the trash.
Understood.
But Mr. Mealy would have been passed away when you've taken your master's?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, he passed
The
away.
same situation as when he had taken his master plumber's test.
Yeah.
Yes.
What happened at that time?
They allowed me to take it.
Oh, okay.
That was 17 years ago, though, right?
No, I took my master's test in 18, I think. 18 or 19? 2019.
Okay.
I took my master's. And he had passed away in 18, and they accepted it at that time.
Have you been pulling permits with the city of Erie?
For my plumbing? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I seen the rates went up earlier this month.
Yes, the fees did increase. That wasn't us, by the
No,
way.
I know.
Just so you know.
I got the call this morning. I brought a check down. It was a little light. It was on the old
This is, where's Andy? Is Andy back there? Andy, do you have any recommendations?
Kind of hard without, is there any general contractors you worked for, when you were working for Al, that could verify installation?
Oh, boy. You're making me go back a little ways. Jim Loop Construction. I've also worked with Admiral Heating when they first opened up after he left Jordan. I've worked with Pinnacle.
You worked at Pinnacle Plumbing?
For a little while, a long time ago, with Dave Anderson, yes, sir. But he's in Atlanta now, and I haven't talked to Dave since he left, so it's been,
So you've been pulling permits for jobs that you've been doing?
for plumbing, yes, sir, yeah, yes, any
You
job
have
I do in the
copies
city.
of those?
With the city, I do, and I have it in my office, I keep it in this mic,
So we could find, we have a record of what he's been doing.
yes, sir.
You said that,
That would just be plumbing,
That would just be for plumbing, yes.
and I can call David and
Yeah.
Okay. you just said that you worked with Admiral Heating, is that correct?
Yes, sir, when they first opened, I worked with them when they
Does-
first opened for a while.
Does David Fuchs have an appliance installer's license?
I would, yes, he does.
So David knows about your qualifications?
Oh, yes, yeah, I could give him a call and have him, could get him in contact with you guys or whatever. Would that work for you?
Well, that's up to the board here.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be the route. I mean, Mr. Mealy is deceased. Obviously, you have no way to.
to verify from him, yes.
Right, so I would say that if Mr. Fuchs would be willing to verify, since you worked with him, your competency in the mechanical appliance installers, I don't see why we wouldn't accept that as a reasonable way for you to get a verifier.
Okay, would you like a letter from him, or would you?
Well, what we would need you to do is you filled out the application. There's a verifier section in the application where he has to initial all the things on it, all the, refrigeration, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He has to fill out all that and then sign it, and it has to be notarized, just like you filled out the jurat, but you just don't have the verifier page.
Okay,
So it's, let me see if I can find it here.
Pages 6 and 7.
Pages, he knows, pages 6 and 7. I don't know that that's right on the mechanical one. I don't believe that it is. Ah, he got it.
I'm looking at it.
Okay. Yeah, it's this page here, and then all the things down here need to be initialed, and it has to be, of course, notarized and returned.
Same thing you did with plumbing.
okay,
Yeah, same, it's almost the same
Exact
thing.
same type of application, so if he verifies that, it would be his verification then.
Ms. Williams?
His application is already verified. Do you want him to give a new application, or a new 6 and 7, page 6 and 7, and get that notarized again?
Well, mine's blank, the copy that I have.
It's not notarized. Oh, no.
This page, if you go to page
Yeah,
7.
that one there and that one
6
there.
and 7, see where it's,
Well, no, I'm sorry, the jurat
The-
is notarized. Do you want him to get a new jurat page?
Yes.
And
yes.
then get that notarized?
The jurat with the signature verifier from Mr. Fuchs.
How do you spell his last name?
Fuchs.
Okay. I'll get the application.
I would have been in trouble with that.
okay, Rick.
What about any kind of, have you been working as a subcontractor to any, like, GC since you've been on your own?
Oh, yes.
Anything like that? A letter or something from a GC?
Does he have, does he have reference letters?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Have you been doing HVAC work for general contractors?
No, not really. Not for GCs.
He's doing plumbing. He's
For the
pulling
GCs.
permits, that's not the issue.
No.
Oh, do you do any HVAC in the county?
In the county, yes, I do. Yes.
Okay.
I haven't done any for any general contractors in the county. For my references I have, they all live in the county, and for, a lot of other customers, but I really don't work with general contractors too much. They don't like our prices.
How about this? Your reference letters, see if everyone likes this idea. Your reference letters are from customers,
Yes, sir.
do you have colleagues in the trade that you could get reference letters from?
Yes, sir.
So could you provide us with the verifier and 3 reference letters from
Yes.
colleagues in your trade, in the trades?
Mhm.
How does that sound? Does
Reasonable.
that sound reasonable?
Yep.
3 new
Yeah.
reference letters?
Yes. Because obviously, he can't, like we just discussed, he can't get a verifier from his previous employer, so. Does that sound reasonable?
Does to me.
Is there any more discussion on this issue? Any questions? Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I'll make the motion to approve this pending the verifier page and his 3 reference letters. After he turns those into the code office, he shall be eligible to take the appliance installer's exam.
Do we want to review those first?
Upon review of the board, of course. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
A second.
Second by Mr. Dietrich. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes, so moved. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. So, is there any other public comment today? Any other public comment? Seeing that there's none, the public comment section is closed. Secretary's report. I don't believe there will be one today,
He's not here.
since he is absent. Correspondence. Ms. Williams, do we have any correspondence?
Is Andy Borsick, his application was presented in February, and you guys had no ruling, you wanted proof of employment, clarification on why his certification dates were out of order, and for him to get an additional verifier, which he has done so. He worked for multiple masters, and the first master he wasn't comfortable with signing off on things that he did not see him do. So he got an additional master, and he completed a verification date as well for him.
So that satisfies the code office to what we asked, and it satisfies what the board requested?
It does.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on this? There's his W-2s.
He provided them
I think 2020 was missing from his W-2s.
1920. He's taking the journeyman's exam, right? Yes.
he showed proof of his employment page showing that he started in 2017 with Arrow. And then the new verifier page by James Foltz.
Uh-huh. So he has, according to his W-2s, he does have 4 years. Is that right?
Correct. He said he couldn't find 2020. He did tell me that.
But he does have 4, 17, 18, 19. I don't think there's any more questions that need to be talked about here. I think he's satisfied the board. All right, well, if there's no more discussion, I'll take a motion to approve Mr. Vorsik's.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by A. Brett, second by Brent Sessler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, and you will be duly notified. We'll move on to, since there's no more correspondence, to old business, excuse me. We received correspondence from last month, Michael Stinson contacting the office requesting information to obtain a master plumbing license. Mr. Stinson was entered into the system in 1993, but never obtained a license in the city of Erie. Licensing coordinator requested a letter from Mr. Stinson before proceeding. Licensing coordinator is asking the board to make a decision on the status of Mr. Stinson, and he'll be eligible to apply for. The board requested time to look over Mr. Stinson's letter that was submitted. I guess my question is, what was his, in 1993, what was he registered as? You
An
know,
apprentice.
and that's it, just 1 year.
No, he was put in the system, but he never got licensed. So I'm assuming maybe his employer, or maybe he applied for it and no one ever paid for it. So he never received the license, but he was entered in the system because I can pull his name up. It's for 1993.
So he has no records at all in the last 30 years, basically.
No.
So he didn't take a journeyman test or anything?
He said that he's a master right now. I don't know where he works out of, but he does not work in the city of Erie.
He has a license somewhere else, is that correct?
I'm pretty sure he said he was through the union or something.
Well, he's a member of the local,
Through the union.
Yeah, he's a member of the steam fitters, it looks like. I mean, that's kind of.
That's jumping all the hurdles.
Yeah, that's jumping all, Mr. Bretz's, that's quite a bit of hurdles to jump. I guess my feeling is, and the board can take it for what it's worth, is that Mr. Stinson would have to prove through employment that he worked under a master plumber. And even that being said, I don't necessarily know that he'd be eligible to take the master's exam, but maybe the journeyman exam. That's just what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking out loud about my view of that. Since he's never been registered, how can someone who's never even been registered as an apprentice expect to take the master's exam? That's not,
well, once you I don't know how the union works, but once you become a member, aren't you supposed to like progress up, apprentice, journeyman? I mean, aren't you supposed to do that while you're in the union? I mean,
you are, but that's on you to make sure that you maintain your license. That's on the individual.
But you don't even know if he was active those years.
We don't know anything.
That's what I'm saying. He
Right.
could have,
There-
he
there's
could have
no-
been an apprentice for a year.
Yeah, there's no
Wait, and sold used
verifications at
cars or
all.
something.
So we would need employment verifications,
Yes.
and then he would have to get his journeyman's before he would get his master's.
I mean, there's some guys that, I'm going to abstain from this because he is a member of mine, but how sometimes it works is guys will work for a contractor. They might not ever set a foot in the city of Erie, so they don't feel like they need to get a city license, but they might be doing plumbing from here to Warren to Bradford, Crawford County, anywhere else.
Sure.
But inside the city of Erie, they might have felt that they never needed to get the license. I personally worked with Mike on plumbing projects, back before our split of our local. So I know that he knows what he's doing, but like I said, I'm going to abstain from this because I feel like I have a
Conflict.
conflict. Thank you.
Well,
Could he provide his journeyman card or any proof from the union, how long he's been a member? And possibly just take his journeyman, but I don't think that'll work because he wanted a full permit.
yeah,
That's why he was asking.
his request is for a master's
Right.
license, which he doesn't meet any of the criteria really, as far as, he may have done that work, but technically by the way the ordinance is written, he has to be under the employ of a master plumber, correct?
If he could verify that.
Right.
And he could get someone to, do the application like normal and have a verification. But that means he'd have to be a journeyman now.
Right. You'd be, if he went to take the master test, he'd completely skip the journeyman process.
Right.
Exactly.
And the only other way would be if he had it at a, how does it word, equal in another jurisdiction or something?
A master.
We could
A master.
consider that, but
Right. But he doesn't have that, right? He's been
Not that-
local the whole time?
not that I'm aware of. I don't know that. We could request that.
So he doesn't have a master's license out of Virginia or
He
nothing?
told me he holds a master's license.
That's what we need to
From
see.
where?
I don't recall, but he told me he did. When he emailed me, I thought he was going to give all that information. I talked to him on the phone, and I told him what I needed, and he presented the letter. So I can always email him and get more information. Can we get him information from the local union to provide
I'm sure that could be
of his
we could request that as necessary. So I think that's where the dominoes fall right now. Mr. Stinson needs to be sent correspondence asking for more information regarding his experience.
Yeah, he needs to send if he has a master license someplace, he needs to.
He needs to send that, he needs to show his employment.
And then if he can, he could do a verification from somebody current, then, right?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, we don't really need to discuss this any further. We just need to send him correspondence that we need that information.
So what do you need from him?
We need a verification of any other licenses that he holds and his employment record, probably pertinent to the number of years, right? So at least 8 years, right? Is there anything anybody wants to add? So we'll request for more information?
If he can do a verification, and get someone to initial that.
Well, I think we need to verify that.
We need to
everything's
know.
right first.
That's what I mean, we gotta verify.
Just that, and then.
Well, I mean, just, if he wants to give us all the information at one shot,
That would be
If he
better.
currently holds a master license someplace else, that means he had obviously gotten
Right.
through a journeyman's status.
That's what I mean.
Maybe.
He did journeyman,
Maybe.
and he may
Well,
be a
with
master.
documentation, that's all you got.
I
And
mean,
then we would need verification of his test for his masters, or what, because there's different ones.
and, it's different jurisdictions are different, and I'm not throwing any rocks, but there's a jurisdiction just east of here that all they have you do is glue a piece of pipe together and then prove you can solder a joint, and they give you a license. That doesn't mean that you particularly know the trade or experienced safety in the trade and what have you. So, my feeling is we need to just ask him for more information.
Agreed.
So,
Take it from there.
okay, so I'll make the motion that we send correspondence to Mr. Stinson asking for the information that we requested. Okay. A second by Mr. Dietrich. Is there any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Mr. Panitsky abstains from the vote. Okay. Still moving under old business. Board was asked to draft a letter that would inform master license holders that they are responsible to sign off on current and former employees' applications for license upgrades. Has that been done, or is that still?
I never received it. You said you were gonna take care of it.
Yeah, you said you were gonna do it.
Throw them under the bus.
Well, he did.
No, wait a minute.
Because I said, how are we gonna get together? And you said you
No,
were
I
gonna
think the
send it out so we
understanding
could
was is-
review it.
We were gonna collaborate with the code office on
Yeah,
that.
they were gonna give us a rough draft, and we were gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't stick it on me
That's
now.
how I remember it.
I don't think so. That's how I remember it too.
Well, then next meeting.
All right, we'll table that topic till next meeting, that's fine. So any objections to tabling that? Okay. Last on old business, Mr. Hieros addressed the board in March regarding him upgrading the master plumber. Mr. Hieros left a significant amount of correspondence to be reviewed. Mr. Zimmerman, Mr. Kindle are in the process of reviewing that. The board will be informed once a review is complete. Mr. Hieros was asked by the board to submit a new application, which he has done. Does the code office want to comment on where they're at with the review? Mr. Kindle?
Good afternoon, everybody. So there was like 2,000 plus pieces of paper in those two boxes. Andy and I have been working here and there trying to get them done. As far as what we're seeing right now, I would say 90% plus is going to be backflow, install, repair, or inspection. There is a large number of just going into residential bathrooms and replacing a toilet or putting a new joining ring in, caulking around the tub because it's leaking down the floor. From what we're seeing right now, there's very minimal, especially on the commercial aspect, experience as far as obtaining a master license, in my opinion. Now, there is still a decent stack to be reviewed. It's roughly somewhere in there. So as we continue to go through them, hopefully by next meeting, we'll have that presented to you. Do you want those before that? I mean, I don't know how that whole thing works. Are you allowed to review those? Are you able to review those before the next meeting, or will that be addressed at that time?
Review,
As far as what we have, what we've gone through, all of his documentation of what he's done as far as however many years back.
did you plan on summarizing that, what your findings? Is that what you're?
Yeah, so we'll have different category stacks of papers. Right now, we've gone through all the papers as far as backflow. Those are all separated now. It's just going through and dissecting, like I said, doesn't need a permit, general maintenance on a bathroom, somebody called with a leaky faucet, those kind of things. So we'll have different, if you want percentages, I don't know how you want to go forward, what's going to make it easier for everybody up here, because it is a substantial amount of information.
Yeah.
I just have a question. I mean, you said you've gone through basically 2 boxes. You only have a small stack left.
Correct, yeah, call
I
it
mean,
200-300
is that gonna
maybe.
skew the numbers that much? I mean,
As far
is
as,
that gonna have, like, I mean,
in my opinion,
in,
I would say it's probably not going to make a difference, but it's really not my decision. Like I said, there's a lot of backflow, and that comes back with the Steve Chiz or Cheese, however you pronounce his last name. I think working for him for as long as he did, that's why the majority, if not 90%, in my opinion, is backflow. So, as we're going through, Andy and I will grab a stack so thick, and we'll get through those in an afternoon. And again, the majority of those are either a pile of just, in my opinion, again, it doesn't make any sense, but he's trying to present his knowledge on it. So, as far as, I don't want to word this.
Would you agree or disagree that the information you've looked through matches the verifier pages that were filled out? Would you agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. Okay.
Now, some of them are duplicates. I don't know if that was in the process of him printing out emails or job descriptions whether it was residential or he considered a commercial. So we will have a residential pile, which is, again, substantially higher than the commercial, but I think we'll go through that as we continue to sort these out and put them in their correct categories.
Okay. Do you have anything else you wanted to add
I
about?
don't believe so at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All
Mr.
right.
Zimmerman?
We created a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet that will show how many backflows, residential, commercial, minor maintenance, basically. The majority of all the backflows are pulled out, and there's over 1,200 of them.
Oh, yeah, there's probably 4 or 5 stacks, I think, rubber banded together in his office now.
So, it very, very little commercial. So, but we'll have the numbers. I do want to finish the stack so that
Okay,
we'll do our due diligence and get through that, and then the board can review what is there and make their decision.
okay, so you want more time?
Next meeting, we should have, yeah, we probably got a fifth left to do.
Okay, all right, so I guess at this point, we should table this for next meeting until we have all the information that we need to make an informed decision. Okay, that closes out the old business section of this meeting. We'll now move into the new business section, review and approve electrical applications. And the first one on the list is Justin Lathrop. You were given a packet with his verifier. I read through and looked through this. I don't recall finding anything that was out of order.
I don't think he had a diploma, did
Yeah, I think he had to, is that correct, Ms. Williams? He had to send more documents? Or his certificate years were out of order, or, is that right?
Well, he has his transcript.
Transcripts.
Okay.
No
Oh,
diploma.
His transcripts were mailed directly to me, so.
That's
from
correct.
school.
That's what they should be done.
yeah, he has, but he has his transcripts. She received his transcripts.
I think in the past, though, we asked other people to just submit their diploma. Don't do vice versa, they had diploma with no transcripts.
I thought that I think that the one
Right.
transcripts,
Right.
we said the transcripts were good enough.
Yeah, the transcript,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it shows that
it
he
would show that
graduated.
he didn't
graduated.
graduate then on the transcript.
Yeah, I believe we had that. I think we had that.
It
Once-
verifies,
Somebody else.
you know, rather than the actual picture of a diploma.
right. Once you lose your diploma, you're not getting another one. That's just the reality of life. So transcripts would be an acceptable way to show that you graduated, you do have a diploma. That's my opinion.
I see he had a bunch of certificates from different places for classroom theory.
Nika,
The requirement's 578 hours. I don't know what these are. If that gives him that required hours for classroom training.
well, let me look at his,
He did the IEC apprenticeship.
yeah, he
He
did
did the
the,
apprenticeship.
he did
Oh,
the
okay.
IEC.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, looking through, he's provided the transcripts, his verifier is all filled out correctly and signed off by the master electrician. I don't see any reason why not to discuss it any further. I think it's all in accordance with the ordinance. So, is there any other discussion on Mr. Lathrop? Any other discussion? Seeing that there's none, I'll make the motion to approve Mr. Lathrop to take the exam. Second by Mr. Collins. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Seeing that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, so moved. Next one on the list here is Jacob Barr. I found a few problems with this application. Not mainly the big issue with it is that he actually, in the verification of his employment, isn't eligible because of the time he's served as an apprentice. As an apprentice. He actually doesn't have enough hours employed to, it shows that he has hours with Dobrich Electric in 2021, working for Joe Dobrich Master, and then he worked for Dobrich also in 2022. That's not, he doesn't meet the criteria to take the exam yet.
At the top there, it just had that he's been an apprentice for 2 years, correct?
Yeah, so he's not eligible to take the journeyman's exam, unless I'm mistaken.
I think he was trying to count the time at Welch's and
No.
Parker Hannaford.
Yeah, but he can't.
Right.
That's
I
not,
think he was thinking that.
right.
But yeah, he doesn't have enough time.
According to his resume, he said he's been working since 2015 as an electrician in some manner.
Okay.
The guy said it was
But I think he was, in some manner, means
Yeah.
working at Welch's and Parker
As a
Hannaford.
maintenance electrician. Right, but that doesn't satisfy the ordinance as being employed under a master electrician. He doesn't meet the requirements.
He's also, in between the time receiving the application, has had infractions with, he had an encounter with our electrical inspector.
Oh, okay.
So I informed him that I was going to submit his application to the board, but I also let him know that the infraction was going to be also
Okay. Mr. Santana,
Let the board aware of his entitlement.
would you like to comment on this infraction that happened?
So I don't know if I know him or not. I've run into a lot of people. But that's irrelevant anyways. I got a phone call 2 weeks ago from a customer that his company had put a new service on their house. And when I asked who the company was, I'd never heard of the name. So I Googled it, found the website. It is an electrical company. I forget the name, it's in my letter. But I called him back to see what was going on because I want to hear both sides of the story. And I kind of knew who I was talking to, but I wanted to verify it, so I asked him if I could, who I was speaking with, and he didn't answer. So I said, do you need a moment to think about who you are? And then the phone hung up. So I called him right back and went right to voicemail, and I was a little irritated. So I said, okay, if this is the road we want to go down, this isn't going to go well. I called back the owner of the house, who said that Mr. Barr had given back the money and said he was unable to get a permit. Now, from me looking into a few things, without having 100% proof, what it looks like to me, that I'm about 90% certain on, is that he had one contractor that he used to pull permits before. Then we sent out the new rule that you have to be employed by that master to do so. He went and did the work first, thinking he could get a permit. Then went to go get the permit, realized he couldn't do that, gave the customer back the money, and then would not communicate with me at any point. And that same day, I believe, was the day he called Christie to try and work some things out, and I haven't spoke to him since.
Okay.
So he's already on record with doing work without permits, doing work without the proper licensing, trying to buy a permit, things like that. I mean, all things that are not very good.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, at this time it'd be no. He doesn't have the schooling, and
Well, certainly.
he's also doing things illegally, so.
Yes.
He does have time at Triangle Tech. He did complete Triangle Tech.
Right.
I have mixed feelings about that. I also attended Triangle Tech, but yeah, I'll leave that up to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Santana. I appreciate it. I think my recommendation is, we send him a letter from the trades board telling him that if he is caught doing work, not working under a master with a legitimate permit, that could affect his future licensing, because we can't have people circumventing the law and not filing permits. I mean, what would happen if he's out doing this, the building catches on, he causes a fire, and there's a loss of life? I mean, that's not acceptable. So I think that we should send him a letter just warning him that he needs to not behave in that manner, and he needs to, put his time in to be eligible to take the journeyman's exam. So my motion is, and I'll make a motion that we deny his application due to lack of, yes, I'm sorry.
One thing, in the ordinance with the schooling, if you have the schooling, you only need 2 years of licensing.
Yeah, he highlighted that. I saw that in it.
So,
It was highlighted in his
of course, I
application
wanted to let you know that. If you have schooling, you only need 2 years
of field
of
experience.
licensing.
Is the Triangle Tech School accepted as, I guess is a question for Mr. Ziwi, is that accepted as acceptable schooling to take the exam or not?
I don't believe it is.
Yeah, it would have to be,
No.
what's the program?
It's
It's a-
gotta be Bureau of Apprenticeship Training approved.
So it has to be approved by the state, so Triangle Tech's program.
I think federal program.
Oh, federal, okay. Federal or state, really. Either one
Right.
would be acceptable. But Triangle Tech is not
That's my
recognized
knowledge.
as it's not a registered apprenticeship
Correct.
training program. Okay, well, that,
Their accreditation here says accredited by the Commission of Career Schools and Colleges.
that's not.
No, it's gotta be approved by Bureau of Apprenticeship Training.
Okay. Okay, well, that satisfies me on that. I don't,
He doesn't have the hours.
he doesn't have the hours, but it says that 2 years if you
Right,
have
I
received the training,
understand.
but it has to be,
Right.
it has to be an approved training program.
Training program.
I mean, I could create an electrical program at my house and people could come for 2 years and come take the exam. It doesn't amount to anything. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. It has to be a recognized by state or
Because he's
federal.
only been an apprentice since November of '21.
That's what it looks like, yes.
So I don't see how he could do the hours.
Well, even with that, then, November of '21, it's only been a year and a half.
Exactly, that's what
So,
I'm saying.
it's not even the 2 years.
It's not even 2 years.
If the school was good. Yeah, even if the school was good, he still doesn't have the time.
He still doesn't have the 2 years, that's where it comes down to, he doesn't have the time.
Okay, so let's summarize this. He doesn't have the time. His schooling is not recognized by the state of Pennsylvania or the federal government. So he doesn't have the school or the hours. And then he needs to be notified about working without permits and not working
I'd say
legitimately.
put that into 2 different motions.
Okay, we can do it that way. Okay, so the first motion is I'll make the first motion to send a letter to Mr. Barr explaining that he can't do work in the city on his own with no permits, not working and being employed by a master electrician. Does that sound,
I just,
you want to amend it?
well, I just wanted to ask, Andy, is there a current letter, or Christie, if there's a current letter that's sent out?
No,
You know,
we'd have to create a new one for this new ordinance.
Okay, well, make it pursuant to Mr. Santana's discovery of him working without the permit. Can we do that?
Cease and desist.
More or less. Okay, so that's my motion to send him the warning letter about the violation that he had, and it may compromise his ability to be licensed in the future by this board. Does that sound good? Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Panitsky. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor of the denial of this application signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any,
You said for the denial of the
or,
application.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to withdraw that. Anyone, the second on the motion was to send the letter out for the disciplinary letter. So all those in favor of sending the disciplinary letter to Mr. Barr signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes to send the letter to Mr. Barr. Okay, the second part of that, the second motion would be to disapprove Mr. Barr's application to take the journeyman exam. He's rejected for lack of hours in both cases. His classroom and on-the-job training's not worked enough hours under a master electrician. So I'll make the motion to deny that application.
Second.
A second by Mr. Panitsky. Any questions on the motion? Yes.
Do you want him to have his 4 years completed before he can reapply?
Why not?
Well, he needs to.
Well, he needs,
If the
the
school's not
hours.
recognized, you would have to have 4
So
years.
4 years completed?
he,
Just so I know what to tell him, let him know.
he would need,
His 4 years, 8,000 hours?
he would need the working hours, yes. But he's been working for a year and a half, so he gets credit for that.
Right.
So-
So we want him to have his full 4 years and 8,000 hours. before he
Yes,
can apply.
he would,
Okay.
that's accordance with the ordinance, correct?
Yes.
Yes, he needs to have the full 8,000 hours, just to clarify the motion.
Yeah, because his time at Welch's
That doesn't matter. Yeah,
wasn't under a master.
it's not under a registered master electrician, so it,
He's got like 2,300 hours between Dobridge and Shalcom Electric on the application.
right, so he's,
Sholcombe Electric isn't a master electrician.
well,
Dale White's the one
Dale
that
White
signed
is.
it.
right,
Yeah,
so
but he's not with Sholcombe.
ultimately, ultimately on this motion, he has to have the 4,000 hours, okay? And Mr. Panitsky, are you gonna second that motion?
Yes.
Okay. You did, I figured you would. Okay. Is there any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor of denial of the application signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
I just had one question. So, I know we don't know much about it because he's not truly like a contractor that's registered and everything, but he's doing that work on his own, correct? He's basically his own employee. So he doesn't even have a journeyman that he's been working with. He doesn't have a master, journeyman, anybody. He's just out there doing work under an apprentice license.
According to our conversation, he said that he does not do work in the city at all.
Well, he just
Until
did.
I brought up, and I brought up the infraction in the conversation that he had with, Mr. Santana, but he told me that he only works outside of the city.
Right. Well, we know that's not true. Yes, Mr. Santana.
So a couple points that I'd like to add, I might clear some things up, is that there's a growing trend right now with guys being apprentices and starting their own company. I've seen, there's 3 of them top of mind that, they keep going out on their own, and then they're farming out to somebody else, and then they're trying to do what was said here, where they say, well, I oversaw all the work. If you're an apprentice, you can't oversee the work because you're buying a license from somebody else. The other thing is there's a name that keeps coming up to you guys over and over again. I won't say who it is, but there seems to be a growing trend of the amount of manpower being paid under the table. So that's going to be the argument you guys have to deal with. Is these guys are saying, I've been working there for 7 years. Yeah, there's no proof of it. You've been collecting the money and pocketing it, and so that's not going to count. That's probably where he's coming from, is saying, I have all this experience, but it's all under the table.
It doesn't mean anything. If he can't prove that he's worked for a master with a W-2, it means nothing.
And then the last point I'll make, that I don't know if there's something the board recommends we do or what we can even legally do, but what is happening with this growing trend of apprentices starting their own company is when they are using somebody else's masters, they go to the house and represent themselves as a master. I get a lot of phone calls from the customers saying, I don't understand why this is so messed up. And I say, well, I don't understand why you hired an apprentice. And then they go, no. He said he is a master. No, he absolutely is not a master. He's working for a master, but he only has an apprentice license. But they keep going door to door, misrepresenting themselves as a master. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's wrong.
I think what they do is they say they're licensed, and the license is the state attorney general's license.
Yeah.
That's happened with us
Jeez.
before. Where they'll say they're a
$50 anybody
licensed
can walk.
electrician, or licensed contractor, but the license they have is the one that you have to obtain to be a contractor through the attorney general's
A
office.
contractor's license.
Right.
Not an master electrician's
Well,
license.
I'm not disagreeing with Mike that could also be happening, but they're calling me up and they're saying, this is what he gave me, and said this is his master license. I looked up and go, absolutely not. That's the one that he used to get permits. That's not, he's still an apprentice. He's come to your house, giving you estimates all by himself, bringing a guy maybe who is a journeyman when the work is done, but they're representing themselves as customers like they're the masters when they're not.
Right. Well, this board has the authority to discipline people for doing those sorts of things, so that's why he's getting this warning letter, because we will take action against someone that's breaking the law. So,
Thanks for that insight.
okay.
That is a prohibited act,
Yes, absolutely.
so the board could take action.
Yep.
Do you think it would pay to send a letter to the master electricians, holders?
We did.
Okay.
So that's been addressed already then?
Well,
These will start, in time, they'll start to clean themselves up.
Yes.
And so we just gotta ride away right now and it'll smooth out.
Right. Okay. Is everyone satisfied with that? Okay, super. All right, we'll move on to the next application. Sam, we're going to need you on this one too. This is an application for Roland Bells III. and he is applying to take the master electrician's exam. I looked through all this stuff, and he verified himself, but he seems to be a solar contractor.
Correct.
And my understanding of the way that the solar contractors work, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the solar equipment is very plug-and-play equipment. You mount the array, you take cables and connect the panels together, you run the wire down to the panel, and then it gets tied into the panel. So the lion's share of the work is just mounting the panels and plugging them together.
Well, you got the switch.
Right, yeah,
that's
the
big-
transfer switch,
That's the
understood.
big thing, is that switch.
Right, and the way that I understand it is that installing the panel and hooking the panels together it's not a requirement for the master's license, but you do need the permit and the license to do the transfer switch to connect into the main panel breaker box.
Right, because Penelec gotta come and
So, right,
inspect it, I mean.
well,
it needs
Sam has,
inspected. Right,
Sam has
right,
to.
because you're dealing with the service.
Right, so the permit needs to be filed by a master electrician. So, my way of thinking on this is that the way it's done here now, a solar contractor comes in and does the work, he subcontracts an electrical contractor to come in and connect the transfer switch and into the panel, and it gets a permit and inspected by Sam. So, looking through his documents, that seems to be his business is solar. I'm not comfortable in the idea of, giving him he's never worked under a master electrician here. He's from Maryland. I believe that if he wanted to come here and do a job, he could file a one-time permit, is that right?
There's a temporary permit for out-of-town contractors, yes.
Okay, so,
Temporary license, maybe.
okay. So I guess my way of thinking on this here is that this individual should apply at the time for a solar contractor's license, not a master electrician's license.
I did mention that to him, but they were saying that they were gonna be doing electrical work as well. And then they submitted everything, as you can see, that's the all places that he holds a master license already, a master electrician license. I did mention that he may want to wait until the solar, and he said no, they're gonna be doing electrical work as well.
Okay.
I don't like that he self-verified himself.
Yeah, I don't either. He can't do that.
The other thing is that I think they said that he's been in business for himself for 20 years or 30 years, so he doesn't have a verifier. He's the only one.
This isn't our first time with this guy. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in January, we rejected the application due to hours worked under a master. We wanted that verification sent, and I guess we couldn't get that because he is a master.
Yeah, because the verification is signed by himself.
Right.
The initial by himself. He doesn't
We
have
asked
a
for the
master.
hours worked under a master at that time, and this is what he sent back. I guess that he is the master, so who is he working under other than himself?
Well, as of right now, we don't reciprocate with any other jurisdictions that I'm aware of. Is that correct?
Correct.
So even though he sends in and that he has a license in a town in Maryland, we don't reciprocate the license. My question is, if he applied for a temporary permit, how many, can he do one a year, is that right? One per year.
It's a $600 fee.
So, again, he doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah.
He didn't work under a master. I think he should come and apply for the solar license when we advance the software at the code office, and then he could apply for solar.
And I'm not comfortable with solar connecting up to, and,
Without being inspected, right?
yeah,
So,
that's dangerous.
yeah, I agree with you. So, that's my bit. Is there any other discussion on it?
Yeah, I would rather see him apply for a one-time license, and then if need be, if he was gonna do more than one project, maybe we could make an exception that he could apply again for that one-time license within that 1-year period. That would kind of allow him to
Well,
continue.
the city sets it up so that you can only do it once in a 1-year period.
Right, I'm saying if we made an exception to that, depending on his work performance, his inspection, for the work he did.
I don't know that I
I'm
would want
not-
to agree with that, simply because what's to stop him from saying, well, this quarter I'm gonna do one, next quarter I'm gonna do one, next quarter I'm gonna do one, and he's doing 4 of them already.
I'm not sure we have the authority to do that anyway. I don't believe that we do.
You could be setting precedent for the future
Yeah.
too, that if you allow that to happen now, it can happen in the future.
Right, yeah, I don't even know that we have the authority to do something like that, to be honest. But, I mean, he has the ability to, if he needs to come here and do one job and he wants a temporary permit in a year, he can do that. I mean, he lives in Frederick, Maryland, that's 6 hours away. I don't know how many jobs he's looking at here. I mean,
Is he just trying to set up a business here?
it doesn't really,
They were bidding on a job here.
a job, right?
He said one. They
Yeah,
said one.
so
I don't know
again-
how many after they were bidding on the job.
Was he informed that he can do a one-time per year permit? Was he informed that?
No, he was just informed that he could apply for the solar
Okay,
license
You-
because that's what he was specifically doing.
I understand. So he's looking at a job here, which if he can do a one-time permit in a year, I mean, maybe someone should reach out to him and say, hey, if you're gonna do that, you can do a one-time permit, you'll be in compliance.
Was he informed that this is Erie and there's no sun?
Yeah, solar panels aren't the best. They work when it's overcast, though. Yeah. This is not the ideal place for solar business.
You might be surprised how cloudy Frederick is. My daughter lives there.
What's the criteria for a one-time license?
A one-time license?
For a one-time license, you don't, so you don't have to present,
Well, you gotta know what you're doing, you gotta provide proof that you know what you're doing. Other master licenses, other jurisdictions, that we could review,
so,
issue that.
so you guys review like the qualifications of the individual?
We would look at it before we would issue. that
Okay.
permit.
Should,
You would look at it before we. issue
Okay.
that permit.
I see. Should those be approved here or not, or we don't? I mean, Sam would review them, of course, and then and give the recommendation to approve it, right?
For a one-time permit.
Or,
We should also be requesting that they send a list of their journeymen who are gonna be in Erie, because even if he's a master living out of state, he can pull the permit possibly, but when it comes to doing the power wiring side of the solar panel, you still have to be a journeyman. So, you know, what I ran into Power Home Solar before they finally went under was that they were trying to send solar installers out to do all that because the master pulled the permit and was in another state. And I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but Power Home Solar is wreaked havoc on here. There's a lot of houses with solar on them that's not even hooked up. It put holes in the roof and everything else because they went under. And now you got contractors coming in here trying to scoop some of this business up and fix these houses. So that's what I think we should do with them is, do you have journeymen? Are they going to be here doing this? Or do you think that you are going to pull the permit and send unqualified people?
well, that's what we don't want to happen. That's where we run into dangerous situations.
Well, according to his application, on the bottom right there, it says that Mr. Bells is the only licensed master electrician that completes work with sustainable energy systems.
Keyword master electrician, does he have journeyman?
He said he's the only one that completes the work. I guess it's all a one-man show.
So when Sam questions him, he'll be doing that work and he'll be getting the inspection personally.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to be in Erie for a week.
Right.
Doing the install, then get it inspected, and then go his way. I don't see how somebody just could run a business and do that.
He's doing a lot of jumping around. I mean, you can see it right here.
Yeah.
He has a license with Allentown, Lower Macogny Township, Harrisburg, Philadelphia. He's all over. So
Right.
he's on the move.
I don't really see any real reason to discuss this any further, to be truthful with you. So if anyone has any motions they want to make, feel free.
I guess I would make the motion to deny his application and send a letter for him to apply for a one-time application for a permit.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion?
Was that Braxton Gregory?
Yes.
Yes. Seeing that there's no questions, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it, so moved. Okay. Last item. We have an application for Mr. Kyle King. He wants to take the journeyman plumbing exam. I went through and reviewed his application. He works for Carlin Plumbing. He has the adequate amount of hours. He provided his diploma. He has his reference letters. The only thing that I found that I didn't really like is that he's missing a couple of signatures on the verifier.
Yeah, not all skills are verified.
Not all skills are verified. So I think my feeling on this is to have the code office contact him back and see if they can get verification on the rest of his application. And then if they can provide the verification, see there's the 3 spots missing.
Oh, yeah.
There's the site work, or size of conductors, sorry. Size of conductors, leaders and storm drains, combined sanitary and storm drains. I mean, you should know what that is. Controlled flow, subsoil and building drains. I think that this probably should be sent back, or he should be notified to see if we can get verification on the things that he's missing from his verifier. And then if we can, then we can approve it.
Now, he's going for a journeyman. Are those things necessary for him to be a master, or are those things necessary for either? Because I know the electrical is a little different, where there was a portion of the verifying that
What do
didn't
you-
have to be done if you weren't being a master. Is the plumbing the same way?
I don't work in the code office, but maybe, I don't know the answer to that.
I'll go ahead and see if, Zach could answer that question.
Andy probably.
Yes, you're correct. He's not going to have everything for a journeyman.
Okay,
The majority he's going to. And so it's the board, what he's missing is, is he gonna make a good journeyman plumber? With the knowledge that he has right now, and will he learn that in the next 4 years to become a master?
right.
I think Zach can speak on his abilities, you know,
Right,
as well.
okay.
Yeah, you guys here, yeah.
I don't have any objection to that, you know, because he's not taking the master's exam. He's taking the journeyman exam. And I know when I took the journeyman exam, I sure as heck didn't know everything. You know, I knew some stuff, but I didn't know everything. So you're still learning even after you become the journeyman. You still learn. Even when you're a master, you still learn. The stuff changes daily. you know. So, I mean, I was just pointing out that they were missing, but
Yeah.
I have no objection to approving his
I would move
application.
to approve it because it's a journeyman and he's got
Okay,
90%, you know,
right.
of verification with a master plumber above him, so.
Okay, are you making a motion?
I'll move to approve Kyle King's application for journeyman license.
Okay, Mr. Sessler made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Bretz. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Mr. King can take his journeyman exam. That's, I think that's it for the month. If anybody has any other business, we can talk about it now, or we can adjourn to next month's meeting.
We want to get them a letter and have them get it to us before the meeting next month, so we can look at it for the,
Regarding Mr. Eros? Or,
well, that and the master, the draft letter of the master license holders, because of the
oh, yeah, yeah.
verification.
Yeah, we want to get the.
Could we
letter-
see that like a couple days before, next month?
Right. I can coordinate with that with Christie, so.
You're,
I'm just asking, because it's hard for all of us to get together otherwise,
No,
you know.
we're not allowed.
You
I'm
know.
just looking to see who we're gonna throw under the bus next.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, we need to get moving on that, and that's fine.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, there's motion on the floor. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. We'll see you next month.